Hey guys, it's Quickie Baby, and 9.1 didn't only bring the new Kharkov map, it also brought changes to some of the maps that you know and love. This video is going to be running over some of the changes, or at least the ones that I feel have mattered and will dramatically affect the gameplay. So hang around if you want to see exactly what 9.1 has done to the game. So firstly, we're looking at Arctic region, and immediately you can see, by gosh, there's a giant hill just outside of the spawn from one of the bases. This will make defending the northeast base a lot more easy. Many of you might know that as soon as this part over here is breached, that it's very hard to stop them from advancing all the way through to here. And generally you would have to let them get into the cap circle and then defend from this location up there. However, now this hill will provide you with some cover from artillery and the opportunity to use the terrain to be able to have another line of fire as the enemy advance into your base. So apart from the hill, there have been dramatic changes in the middle of the map, as we can see here. There is a completely new way to go. Previously, this lake was very much extended. Now you've got lots of lovely opportunities to have progressive fights with mounds such as this for cover as you need to continue to advance. This should make the map just a little less linear. Previously, you only had two real routes that you could take. This one, and the route of being up over the hill. Using this central route now, it should make the map a lot less linear and a lot less choky. You can continue to advance all the way along here in this low-lying pathway until you have to rise up over the hill, but you will have an opportunity to avoid fire from these rocks. If you can continue down the central part of the map, you'll be very surprised to see that this is no longer a death trap. No longer will tanks get stuck here and drown themselves. It is a new viable route to reach the enemy base. One thing you'll notice is that there are multiple pathways out of these locations, so the fight, while there are going to be parts where you literally have to decide, if I'm going down and I have to advance along it, there are multiple exit routes once you reach the other end. This, in my opinion, is a much needed change to stop players from camping in locations such as this. Previously, there were bushes here, and specifically over here, that you could simply camp behind and have a massive advantage over the battlefield. Now the enemy team will be able to advance down, probably start to proxy spot you around these locations, with the aim of being able to outflank you and engage you from multiple directions. Just to touch again on the location up here, there is a gigantic spur that comes out from the mountain that will prevent you from getting shots into this location up here. Previously, this very overpowered location was able to dominate most of the map. That isn't really going to happen in 9.1. In my opinion, the southwestern team had a massive advantage at defending the base because of the location that we just marked out, and also the fact that they could get up on this hill. It looks like this hill is impassable now, which is going to make it very much easier to attack from the northern side of the map. The way that they've designed this mound makes it quite hard to actually use to get cover from the enemy, especially if you don't have much gun depression to work with the terrain. Now, the northwestern part of the map is unchanged apart from one major feature, which is the opportunity to go down and around. If you've played this map, you'll know that is a favorite of inexperienced players to simply zerg down and around and often get stuck down here. Now you're going to be able to get yourself out, which is fantastic. Hopefully less people will be throwing games that way. And this northwestern area is pretty much going to be the same kind of fight. Looks to me like you're still going to be able to poke your way up here and have an advantage point over the enemies. But really the key is that it's going to be a lot less linear. Previously you had two choices with regards to the north of the map. This pass to the far north, what was in pre-9.1 the central path, and in my opinion a complete kill zone to the south. Now with multiple routes through the south, it should be a lot more progressive. This location over here is still very easy to defend, and with bushes and rocks for hard cover, should be a favorite of stealthy tanks. It's interesting that there are multiple routes up around the hill towards the northeastern spawn, and this whole area here just looks so much more open, and perhaps we're going to have slightly less camping towards the southeastern pass. And we can see that the area has been opened up to allow progressive fights to continue. This should hopefully make the southeast of the map a lot less campy and allow you to flank heavy tanks. Be warned though, if you do advance as far forward as here and there are still significant numbers of the enemy tanks, they are likely to attack you and you're going to have very little backup. All in all, there have been some absolutely great changes to Arctic region, and I can't wait to be playing this map in the 9.1 version of the game. Next, let's move along. We're going to be looking at Comorin, one of probably the most hated maps in the game. I am sure a lot of you are waiting with bated breath to judge this map and to see what Wargaming have in store for it. Let's get straight into the meat of the matter. There are now multiple routes across the swamp. Previously, unless you wanted to literally risk your tank from drowning, there were no routes across apart from to the far south, the center of the map, and the far north of the map. We can immediately see here there are two routes along the south of the island, so to say, which should provide you hold down opportunities as you proceed. Don't be worried if you like the old school combat though, there are still some very strong cover locations for you to use in the southwest corner of the map. This whole area, as we can see here, has been extensively changed. There are now far more buildings for you to hide behind, whereas previously this little bastard of a building here was probably the only one that you had to get to, and you had to run across a monumental area. In 9.1 you should have far more cover as you're making your advance towards the enemy base and where they likely camp in the northwestern corner. Interestingly, the northwestern corner has now been dipped. Look at this. And if they want to advance into a position where they can shoot, they're very much closer to you, i.e. from this location here to the buildings is where they really need to be able to shoot. And also there's just a gigantic open space with no cover. Not even bushes for them to use. They're going to have to camp all the way at the back, and realistically they're not going to be able to shoot you until you start to crest the ridge of that open field. This whole area along here just feels so much bigger towards the west of the island. And as we mentioned earlier, the passes allowing you to avoid the choke points. Now if we look on the island, things remain mostly unchanged. There is now some hard cover to the east of the island to prevent them from getting nailed in from the people who go even further out to the east. These locations here should be absolutely fantastic with hard cover and also bushes for medium tanks and tank destroyers. To the west of the island, things do remain fairly unchanged, although we can see that there is also a ridgeline stemming out from the west as well. This addresses one of the key problems previously on Comorin, and that's that if you wanted to go into the central part of the island, you would be engaged from multiple parts of the map, often from targets that you couldn't engage because you couldn't see them. Now you have cover to the east, you have cover to the west. This makes it almost a bit of a playground really, a little arena from where you can go and you can fight it out to your heart's content. Interestingly, this water here, it certainly doesn't look deep enough to drown in. And there might even be some heroics from going from the central island, advancing to the east. And you should be able to make it over this water gap, which will put you in a fantastic position to play quite aggressively out from and provide forward eyes for your team. And that's because there's a whole extra route to take here, to the west of what previously was the ridgeline that connected it to the water. You're going to be able to advance along here and then through this ford here to make your way across, either from the north to the south or the south to the north. And that's not the only pass. The previous route that I liked to try and drown myself on a regular occasion to get into this very advantageous position has been opened up, so it's no longer a risk, it's a ford. The area to the north has been changed as well. You may previously remember that the far northeastern corner of the map had an area which the enemies could advance along, almost in some water, to be able to avoid fire to get up into the corner. That now, while it's not possible, they do have some ridge lines which they're able to hide behind to avoid fire from the west as they advance. Again, this should make the fight more progressive and less campy. The buildings towards the east were not really the problem before, and they remain fairly unchanged, with a few additions to provide you a little bit more cover while you're advancing. If we look towards the southwestern corner, we can see that the bush cover has been significantly reduced. While there are still definitely going to be some opportunities for tank destroyers to hide in, they're not really going to have the amazing vision across the entirety of the map that they had before, making it a very dominant position. There is a ridgeline here that was in the previous patch, which I always liked to get underneath to be able to engage the opponents who are above me. All in all, Comorin has been completely changed, and I can't wait to play some games on it to see if the campy nature that was Comorin in 9.0 is hopefully gone. I think the fact that there are now multiple routes across the map should make it a lot more interesting and a lot less campy, and I can't wait to play this in 9.1. Next, let's take a look at the changes to Northwest. Northwest has also received very significant changes. While I felt that the map was fairly balanced, Wargaming have highlighted a few of the locations which, looking back on it, really were quite overpowered. There have been some buildings added here as well as some hardcover to provide you with some extra support from the overwhelming firepower that usually came from the north when you came around this rock that's located in the southeast of Northwest. And that's really the only changes that have happened in the southeast and the central part of the map. The most significant changes are towards the north. Some mining buildings have been added in the north, and it has been significantly widened. Previously, it was only about this wide. It's been doubled, if not tripled, which should hopefully make the fighting less linear, or allow you to maybe outflank some of the tank destroyers that like to really hold these locations. It's very hard to get around them without getting shot to pieces. If we continue along the north, we can see that there are now multiple routes around and there are dividing rocks in the middle. The cover towards the south is very pronounced, and realistically, people who decide to camp in this location over here are going to find it very hard to engage people towards the north. And so when you think about it, it's kind of balanced because it was very hard for the north to engage the west reliably. So the fighting along here has multiple paths now, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it pans out. One thing that is massively different is we can see that this rocky outcrop has been significantly extended all the way until the northwestern corner. What this means is this is a dividing feature. It divides the fire from the west and the north. Previously, you'll know if you're a medium tank driver that you could simply come here, come up here, and you would be completely safe, because if the enemies decided to advance at you, then they would get shot by all manner of your support in the west. Now, if you advance along here, you're going to be cut off from your teammates, and you better be prepared to fight by yourself. All in all, I think this was a much needed change. I felt very dominant when I came up to this northwestern corner, and I think that it's going to be very much more balanced now for the team that spawns towards the northeast to get a fair fight for the team that spawns towards the southwest. So let's move along now to our final map. We're going to be looking at the changes to Tundra. So the changes to Tundra are very pronounced. This whole western part of the map is so different, it's going to play out completely differently. Previously, this far southwestern corner was barely used. Now there is very much more hard cover, as well as opportunities to go hull down to fight out from. This western pass is now divided, so if you should choose to try and make your way down it, you do have some cover on either side, but you're going to be completely cut off from the rest of the fighting. Also, this will allow you some very much needed hard cover from artillery. However, if you decide to not go to the west of this mound, you're going to be able to fight in this industrial area, which is completely new. This provides lots of opportunity for people to dominate the west and to shoot out down the central part of the map, and even up at the people who like to poke from the hill. Once you make it through here, this whole area has been changed. Previously, there were two choke points. There was one more or less to the west, and there was one here just below this outcrop. Now that whole barrier has been released, and you're going to have to cross some open ground, albeit that you do have quite a few undulations to work your way through if you want to advance towards the enemy base. This northern area has been changed as well. As we can see here, there are multiple routes around, and it has been flattened out to stop it from gaining a massive vantage point over the people who like to advance from the west. The area towards the north of the cap circle is very open, but the fighting that will happen towards the east of the map is pretty much unchanged. The fighting for the hill will continue as it previously did, although there are new routes for you to be able to go down to the central part of the map, which should make it a lot less choky with regards to this bridge. The southeastern corner should be as strong as ever, but only able to really affect the fighting that's going to go on towards the east. All in all, I think these are some great changes to Tundra. It's drawn the focus away from the hill towards the east, and made the west a really viable progressive fight, without the team that spawns towards the north having a massive vantage point with regards to the hill to shoot over the advancing team. So those are all the changes that I've been able to spot on the maps that are coming in 9.1. I think the changes are fantastic. I think they're going to add some balance back into the maps, and they're going to take out a few of the points on them that were completely overpowered. I feel like this is similar to the last set of changes that arrived with the 9.0 patch. I feel like all the changes are designed to make the maps more progressive and less campy, which in my opinion equals more fun. So hopefully this video has been useful to you guys. If it has, please consider rating it down below. It would really help me out and I'd appreciate it. And let me know in the comments what you specifically think about these changes, and also if I've missed any key features. I have done a full preview on the new map, Kharkov, so if you're interested, you can check that out as well. Anyway, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.